there we go. Okay. Hello, everyone. How are we all? I hope you can hear me and see me okay. I think I just had to unmute. Let me just put the chats on. Let's make sure everyone can hear me. There's a couple of people on. Hi, Mum. How are you? Hi, Rebecca. Can we all hear me and see me okay? Hi, Jill. Hi, Valerie. Oh, brilliant. Thank you, Rebecca. That's good. That's good. The setup was slightly different to what I was expecting on the screen this morning. These computers, they like to keep us on our toes, don't they? They really do. Okay, hope you're all well this morning. Oh, hi, Tracy. Hi, Jean. Hi, Valerie. That's great. Lovely to have you here. And Chris as well. Today, I'm using something brand new. Now, this is ahead of Lisa's Christmas launch on Hobby Maker this afternoon at 3 o'clock. So I'll try and finish just a little bit before 3. Hopefully, you know what I'm like. I tend to chat things overrun a little bit. But what I wanted to do today, say just ahead of these launching with Lisa on Hobby Maker, I just wanted to show you them in action, really, just in case Lisa doesn't get a chance to demo these. I know there's an awful lot that she's bringing to the show today, and I have a feeling these are going to be really popular, so they could well fly out before she gets a chance to demo them. So I just wanted to show you them in action today. Couple of really quick, simple demos. I will use them again at some stage and definitely go more Christmassy for you as the year goes on and as we get a bit closer to Christmas. At the moment, the sun's out, so it just felt really strange just to get really Christmassy today. But I just wanted to do some stenciling with you today as well. Now, I've already done some, a couple of little things, and I'm actually going to demo what I've shown you today, but I haven't put these cards together because there's a couple of different ways you can actually do this. So I'm going to start off with the stars, and what I've done actually is done these on different backgrounds or coloured backgrounds. I will stencil this one on blue like I've done here, but I will stencil the other one on white, and there's absolutely nothing. Well, I love stenciling on white. You get the real true pop of the colours, regardless of which of the types of ink of Lisa's that you use. But I did want to show you that it really is a nice idea to stencil onto coloured card, whether it be textured like this one or you're using a smooth card. Lisa's white core card would be absolutely perfect for this, particularly some of the lighter ones. And I have used, oh, you can't actually see. Let me swap to camera 2 for a second. I have used some of Lisa's special inks on this. On these ones, actually, I think they were the Colour Shift. And I don't, yeah, look at down here. Down here, you can see as I tilt that to the light that even on a coloured cardstock, you can get the those special effects of the inks that you're using, whether it be the metallics or the Colour Shift that I've used here. Even the interference as well does work to a certain extent. Obviously the tone of the colour and the tone of the special effects that you get will change depending on the colour of the cardstock you're using and how dark it is. Oh, that's just gone out of focus a little bit there. But if you want a different background, it really is a nice idea to stencil onto a different colour cardstock. So obviously this one's stenciled on blue. This is the Bold Stars layering stencil. So with this we have the layering stencils, and this one in particular is just made up of 2 stencils. So this is a super, super quick projects for you to create, not only for Christmas. This is great for everything. And then you also have the 3D embossing folder with this as well. And both of these sets are £5 5x7". So they make a really good size. And obviously you don't have to keep them at that size. You quite easily cut them down to be like 5-inch square cards, or obviously an A6 card as well. You'd be able to trim that down, but they make a really nice size of the 5x5. Sorry, the 5x7". So with this card, say I haven't mounted it up. I will do this later on and create some photos for you, but I just wanted to show you a couple of different combinations. Now, this is a lovely purple ribbon. Actually, you can't see how lovely that colour is. Let me see. You can just see sort of the depth of that purple. It's you know that really lovely chocolate that we all like, that has the lovely purple colour. It's real deep purple, this. And I've got lots of ribbon. I've been using ribbon a lot just lately on other projects outside of Lisa. So I just really fancied using a bit of ribbon on this today. I wonder if let me just swap to this camera. You may be able to know, you can't quite see. Ah, there you go. You can see the colour on there. And I really wanted to use the purple because it matched so well with the purple ink that I've used. But I just wanted to show you different ways that you can make this up. Now, you can create a band of ribbon and you can tuck that behind there. You could easily use cardstock, coordinating cardstock to create the ribbon type effects. And I know Lisa does have die cut bows, but you could easily add that on there. And you can add a little message, a little sentiment, and that would be a super quick card. Obviously, if you can cut these down, let's cut that ribbon down so it looks a little bit more in keeping. So I'm going to trim this. Now, I've got tape on the back of this, so I can cut this straight across, and I know that this won't fray. The tape behind will keep that all in place. So I say you can use ribbon for that little bit of texture, or you can use a cardstock. You can add your bow on at the bottom, and you can add yourself a sentiment. You can have the sentiment even like that. You know, these make great birthday cards for those people who are not necessarily floral people, maybe for teenagers, maybe for guys. You could add the ribbon at the top and put your sentiment at the top. Now, this could be Christmas, obviously, ideal for birthdays too. You could bring in one of your tags. So this is one of the nested arches from the fundamental sets, just one of these smaller ones. You could add your tag like so. Again, that creates a whole different feel. This is great for those special birthdays, so 16th, 18th, 21st, 40th, 50th, you know, anything. So you can add your special sentiment on there, and again you can add your sentiment at the top. You can add it at the top there. You know, you can really have a nice play around with this. You could bring this down a little bit further. I say there's so many different ways I could use this that I couldn't actually make up my mind, which is partly why I didn't put the card together for you, to be honest. I didn't quite know which way I wanted to go with it. So again, one of these nested arches, which make a super size for a tag. Actually, you could put your 16 on there. You could put your happy birthday on there, and then you could mount your bow at the bottom there. Again, there's so many different ways of using this, but of course you could say it's coming in the Christmas set, but it doesn't have to be exclusively Christmas. You can see here that you can replace any of the sentiments that I've used with Christmas sentiments, and that would be ideal. And obviously, if you perhaps use more Christmassy colours, reds or greens, you could do purples and silvers, blues and pinks. You know, there's all sorts of different ways you can do that, but it makes a really, really super background with those stars, a really nice and easy background. So I'll be stenciling these stars for you just to show you how they come together. So that's sort of one idea. Now, another reason why I wanted to put them together like this is because basically both of these designs sort of follow the same format. They create you a lovely background. So whatever I'm doing with the stars, you can easily do with the wrapping up design as well with these rosette bows. So everything that I'm choosing, you know, I'm doing today and with the cards, I think is definitely interchangeable. So this is creating the design onto a coloured background. So I took that one step further, and with the bows, or sorry, the wrapping up, I've created this on a coloured background. Because again, we don't have dies with this, so if we want to do any cutting out, it has to be fussy cutting, but they are so simple to fussy cut out. So obviously when you're stenciling with ink direct onto a colour cardstock, you are sort of limited with the colours that you want to use. If you don't want to have that restriction, then what you can do, you can stencil your image, whether it be these rosettes, the wrapping up rosettes, or the stars. You can then fussy cut them out, which is what I've done here. So I've basically used the stencil design, embossed it, and if I show you here, I've actually embossed. Okay, and then I've fussy cut out. So I've got just one here just to show you how quick this really is. These are, although these are larger and perhaps slightly more intricate to cut out than the stars, they are really easy to do. I embossed all of these. No, I stenciled them, then I embossed them, and then I cut them out, and it took me no more than 10 minutes for the cutting, and I'm not the best of fussy cutters. What you do want to do though is that the base, I'm going to apologise, I've had so many people come to the door today, and I've got one more delivery, and I just knew that it would turn up today. So oh dear. Okay, Stephen will sort her out. She'll sleep well later on. She's been on the go all day, all morning. Okay, so what was I saying? So what I've done with the wrapping up here, I actually stenciled this onto just a piece of the super smooth cardstock, stenciled it obviously in the colours that I wanted, with colour shift and metallic inks and also interference. Then I fussy cut them, and I wanted to just leave this one here just to show you how quick it was to fussy cut. Now you take your scissors of choice, and of course my large scissors come out. So I am not the best fussy cutter. I haven't got the patience for it, but there are some times when I think there is definitely a call for it. Now obviously this one is just half of one of these rosette bows, but what I would suggest when you do this is to get your layer, your background colour. In this case I've used a real deep burgundy wine sort of colour for the background. Emboss that, and then as you fussy cut these out of your white card, lay it onto the corresponding area straight away onto the onto your coloured background, because otherwise you might just lose track of how they all fit together. So if I show you this here, if I just lift this up a little bit, you can see, I'll turn it over actually, you can see that I've already embossed this, and as I cut out each one of these individual rosettes, I put this back into its corresponding place onto this background. Oh, sorry, Jackie. I know. She's all done and sorted now. I've got Stephen's at home. He'll get her sorted. I sort of primed him, and he knew that there was a delivery on its way, and I said to him, look, it's going to turn up at 2 o'clock, I just know. And it did. Anyway, so you can see this background here is already embossed, and I would have had this pre-embossed. So as I would have cut out each of these pieces of rosettes, I would have put this straight into its corresponding place. So I knew, I have a feeling that they're probably all the same, but just to save any confusion, say you put them straight into place, and you don't have to cut out every single one. It would be perhaps quite nice to leave a couple just embossed, and then perhaps just add only a couple of the rosettes as well. It's entirely up to you. I say it's a really nice way and a real different way to use the embossing folder. So as I say, this one, it's one of those ones that looks like it's off the page, and I think that's a really nice feature. So I've just cut that out, and I can just finish the design by popping that into place. There's a couple of smaller areas that I haven't bothered to cut out for, and those bits are embossed, but I still think that looks quite nice. And again, I've used a little bit of ribbon because that's what I fancy doing today. Again, you can just use cardstock. You can use there's lots of different paper strips. The paper strip dies would be perfect to create ribbon, and you can add your bow on there. And again, I think this would make a really nice birthday card or a celebration card, anniversary card, congratulations card, as well as going Christmassy as well. So as I say, what I'm going to show you now, I will stencil direct onto white, but if you do want just that slightly different look in the background, then these are your two different options to create that, and they are actually quite quick make cards. So imagine you can put your sentiment on here as well. You can put that either as a tag. I just think that's really nice. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get stenciling now. There's nothing like seeing these in action, but it's a really nice way just to create different types of backgrounds. I'm just going to pull that out a little bit for you. And I'm going to stencil the stars first. Now, I can bring in my Ultimate. The stars, the bold layering stars that we have here, you can either choose to do these two-tone, you can do them in a single tone and create different shadings. You know, there's lots of different options you can use. So this is just 2 stencils, so this comes together really, really quick. And I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to use, well, for this card here, I've used Under the Sea colour shift, and I used Lilac Meadow. And I think I'm going to do the same again. I'm also going to bring in some silver shine, I think, and I'm going to do the smaller stars in the background as the silver, or in the silver. So I've already cut my cardstock to size. There are numbers on the stencils. It doesn't really matter, I don't think, with these particular ones which way around you use, but you see number 1 there. It's really hard to show you, and number 2 sitting there. So I think this time around, I'm actually going to swap the colours around. First time here, I used the blue first, or the Under the Sea. But this time, I think I'm going to use the Lilac Meadow, and I'm using my stencil brushes, the white ones. And I'm just going to stencil the larger stars with the Lilac Meadow. And I shall do these smaller ones in silver, I think. Now, what I've done on this particular card, I didn't do these smaller background stars in silver. All I just took what was left on my brush and just went over them. So I made these larger stars a lot bolder, a lot I put a lot more colour on them. Sorry, I can think of the word I was saying then. And just to allow these to sort of fade into the background, I just ran over with a tiny bit of ink, just like so. So I made these larger stars a lot more prominent by using the darker colour on them. You don't have to do it like that. You can put as much ink through these larger stars as you do the smaller ones. Again, it's entirely up to you. And it's such a super quick stencil to get through. And at this stage, I'm not particularly too worried about any sort of shading. I'm using the colour shift, and this is blending really nicely onto the textured cardstock. Now, this is just cardstock that I've had sitting in my on my shelf for ages. I can't even remember where it came from. So it's not necessarily Lisa's, but what I will say with Lisa's inks, they are pretty well able to stencil onto most cardstocks, I would say. So there we are. I've done all the larger stars. So I'm going to take my silver stencil brush. I'm going to come in with the Silver Shine. Now, if you wanted, you could clean the stencil first, but I'm just going to come in on all of these smaller stars with that silver. So this one is going to look quite different to the one that I've got here, and it's a really nice way to be able to batch make if you're making and you have a lot of people to send cards to, or you want to create I don't know, 4 or 5 similar ones, but you don't always want to do them the same way. You can sort of alternate which color you use on which stencil, and again, that would make it look a little bit different. You know, you can do the stars silver or not in the background. You could always just leave the stars out. You don't necessarily have to even include them. Again, if you just want a completely different look. So you can see there, that's your first layer. So it does look quite abstract at this stage. So that's where we need to bring in stencil number 2. Now, while I still have the silver in my hand, I'm going to go and do all of these smaller stars first. Now, what you possibly can't see at this stage, but I'll show you once I've finished, is that this Silver Shine, even though I'm stenciling onto a light blue and not white cardstock, it still has an amazing shine on it. We all know how brilliant these metallic inks look on white cardstock, but also in particular on black cardstock. And actually, if you were to do these stars in silver onto black cardstock, do the whole thing in silver, that would look, onto a black cardstock, that would look stunning. But what I'm saying is that the this Silver Shine, even onto a light blue cardstock, still has that real metallic element, and it looks super. It looks really, really effective. And you're also getting the texture from the card on it. So that's the background stars. So now I can finish off these larger stars, and I'm going to use Under the Sea. Now these Colour Shift, again, they are a matte blending ink, but they have the wonderful effect similar to the interference inks. So as these dry, you will get that mica shine coming from them, but when you look at them straight on, they will have that matte blending chalky finish to them. So these are really, really lovely inks to use. Now obviously I am taking on board a little bit of the silver as I'm stenciling these, so if you didn't want that to happen, then you could quite easily have cleaned that stencil before. We cleaned the silver ink off of that beforehand. So I can do this through quickly. So even with 2 stencils, you really are still getting an awful lot of detail. We're used to some of Lisa's sets being up to 8, 9, 10 stencils, possibly 11 or 12 with some of them, and we get a huge level of detail. But equally, these sets with just 2, they allow us that really quick make, but they do still give us that good level of detail. Now, what I'm going to do, just before I move that, just to add a certain amount of shading, I'm going to come back in with the Lilac Meadow, and just in the centre, I'm just going to add a little bit of shading just to darken up that centre. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take that away. I'll perhaps come on to camera 2. Possibly what you can't see at this stage, I'll show you when I move it, is that the centre of the under the sea, or the blue areas, are going to be just slightly darker with a little bit of shading with the Lilac Meadow. Not a huge amount, because obviously I don't want to overpower the blue colour, but it will just tie it in a little bit with the background. So you can see all I'm doing there is just adding a little bit of colour. So what you want to do now is actually make sure that you wash both sides of these stencils pretty well, because of the type of ink we're using. We've got a lot of ink in those stencils. You don't want that necessarily to transfer to any other project. So now if I can lift this off and I can tilt that, you can see just how well those silver stars pop from the background. Let me just see if I can get a slightly better colour on that. Or not for you. Okay, so tricky. So it's one of those things with these super inks that we're using. I can see the beauty of it here, but it's so hard to show you on camera. It really is. But you can see how those background stars really pop. And actually, they remind me of a pair of curtains that I made for the boys when they were small. Yeah, it was really dark. It was actually on a dark blue background, but the stars were actually 2 different sizes of stars. They're very similar to that. I think the background stars were yellow though. I actually love those. Love those curtains. They were ideal for the boys. It took them through, both boys actually, through quite a young age, through to teenage years when they wanted their bedroom changed. So what I will do now is I'm going to emboss this. Now, fortunately, there is only one way that these stars go into the embossing folder. So we know that we're going to have the stars embossed onto this. Sometimes even I get confused as to which way around the embossing folder should go. So it's great when we have a pattern that is can only be loaded into the folder one way, and it's so easy to line up, as you can see there. Just I was chatting this, so the lines are so sort of super sharp that it's easy to line up what you stenciled with the design. So I'm just going to run this through the machine. Now, of course, with both of these designs, you don't necessarily have to stencil. You could quite easily emboss this onto a metallic card or any of Lisa's speciality card, and it would look fabulous as well. So again, what it's done is really made those stars pop, and I'll just turn that over. You can see that that's embossed. Again, it's one of those really tricky things to show you. But it's really made, particularly those background silver stars, it's made them look really in the foreground. Now what I have got here is a little bit of, actually let's take a larger piece. I've got a piece of Lisa's I've forgotten what this is called. Some of Lisa's, you know, this lovely sort of oil on water look card. You don't have to do the stenciling. If you take some specialist card like this or metallic card, and it's going to look equally as good. So even if you just perhaps go for the, or just use the embossing folder, That will give you a super, super look as well. So I'm just going to line that up. I'm going to emboss this and just show you. And I think with the stars, you don't necessarily, you know, you could go with any colour with this at all. So let me show you this again. Look at that. I mean, that even just on a birthday card. And you can see the quality of the embossing. You don't have to stencil those. That looks, I can show you the back, but you can see just how well and how gorgeous that is. Even on a piece of rough card here, you know, you rip and tear that and just make that a little bit more of a feature and stick a bow or a sentiment on that, and I think you're good to go. You definitely are. So that is, there are your stars there. That is a stunning colour, isn't it? Look at that. You could look at that all day. You really could. I think absolutely perfect for teenagers. And it can be so tricky, I think, to create something handmade for a teenager if they don't have a specific hobby. Okay, so that is your golden stars. So hopefully I've shown you its possibilities. I've shown you how well sort of it performs. Hopefully, you know, you've got so many more ideas that you've been inspired to sort of create with those. Even if you just get Lisa's the satin card, even if you just get lots of different colours of that and just emboss those and just put a simple tag and simple sentiment, perhaps even use Lisa's printables. You know, you've got lots of cards ready to go. So I think what I'll do now, I'll use the wrapping up stencils. Now this one, again, ideal for Christmas if you were to use Christmas colours. And what I've actually done, I've used the Cloud 9, the Very Berry, which again, it was a Christmas release, but it's such a gorgeous raspberry pink colour that it should be used all year round. Absolutely should. I've also used the Solid Gold and the Love Struck. So I've got two metallics and I've used the interference on this as well. That's for this one here. And if I perhaps tilt that, you can see the different effects on there. And I think what I might do, actually, let's just ask, is there a colour combination that you would like to see me use on the wrapping up? I've got all the inks. I don't know whether I should admit to that or not. I don't know. But if there is a particular colour combination that you want to see me use on this, I'm more than happy to give that a go. So what do you think? Let me just see. Rainbow satin card. That's it, Valerie. Thank you. Honestly, my mind is terrible. I forget. I knew what I want to say. My memory is terrible. Yes, they are great. There's great for a super quick Christmas card, Carol. Ideal, particularly if you're selling them. Lisa's angel policy extends to you making and being able to sell the cards that you make from this. Teal and mustard. Okay, let me see. Now we have a peanut glow. This colour is slightly orange. Let me show you. Peanut glow. Let's have a see. I'll show you this colour. That's it's a bit too brown. It's not necessarily mustardy colour. Oh, I don't know. It is like that. Let me see what I can get. I've definitely got teals for sure. Okay, what we'll do, we've got teal twist. We'll take you at your word with teal twist, and we have a solid gold. We'll perhaps use the solid gold, which I think is a really nice colour as well. I think that would work. And teal or coral. Actually, I think teal and coral would work together, actually. Let me look at this coral. This is a new one of the colour shift ones. I haven't used it yet, so this means I can crack out a brand new brush. Let's have a look. Oh, that's a lovely colour actually. Slightly more orange. Let's go for Teal Twist, which is a interference. Let's see what we can bring together. Oh, look at that colour. That's lovely. I haven't used that in a while. What do we think to those colours? I think those would actually work together. Should we go with that? Yeah, let's go with that. I think we could make those work. So we've got Coral Waters, we've got Solid Gold and Teal Twist. Are we happy with that? Shall we give that a go? I think that those colours will look stunning actually. Okay. I really like that. Them Coral Waters actually, that's a really unusual colour. I haven't had a chance to use that one yet. So let's give that a go. So this wrapping up layering stencils that we have here, let's just turn that colour up a bit more. Let's see. Okay. We have our piece of card. We have the wrapping up. So we have 4 stencils here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We layer this up like so. Oh, let's put that down a little bit. Actually, I've cut this so it just fits into there. Okay, so which way round shall we do this? Now, what we have here is where Lisa's put the lightest of the colours. So I think what I might do, I might use the Coral Waters on this layer in particular. So stencil brush, because this is a colour shift ink. That's a super colour. I love that. We're going to stencil this in. So this colour shift, again, this is going to be the matte. It's going to have a matte finish to it until we turn it to the light. Then we see the mica. So then we have the interference. So it's actually nice to see all 3 different finishes of ink on the one project. Okay. And you can see actually with this colour shift also that you can create different blends with this. So you can go really quite pale if you wanted to. Okay. So who's going to be watching Lisa at 3? Actually, it's pretty good timing for me. It'll give me a chance to sit down and have a cup of tea before I think about what I'm going to do next, or probably tidying up this room again. It's amazing how much mess I'm making just creating one project. It was tidy. Well, it is sort of tidy actually. I had a good tidy up and clear up yesterday. I don't know how many of you have been on to Lisa's Facebook page, but I put up some new storage for my brushes yesterday. Much needed. I like to have these little containers per colour for each of the brush sets for the inks. Well, for the metallics, I have all the metallics in one pot like so. And you can see here that they sort of, the pot then hangs to a pegboard with the back here. But generally, things like the blending inks that I use a lot and have the re-inkers as well. I generally have a set of brushes. I have a blending brush and I have the re-inker in there as well. That's the way that I like to store everything. Keeps it all together. because I do have a lot of brushes. It actually makes it easy. My excuse is it makes it easy when I'm demoing for you that I need to have all the brushes to hand. Anyway, that's my excuse, and that's what I'm sticking to. But yeah, so I put up that storage yesterday, so I was sort of forced to have a good tidy up. Look at the colour of that. That's lovely. But I'll show you the effects of the inks a little bit once I finished stenciling. So this one here, I think I'm going to come in with a teal twist on this one, I think. So this is an interference, and the interference inks, because of the formulation of the ink itself, they actually work. They do work with stencil brushes. I haven't got enough stencil brushes for those at the moment, so I do use these blending sponges. But you can still create a lovely blend with them. This is actually when we first started blending inks in this way. This is what the majority of people would use, wasn't it? These blending sponges. So this is how I learned to blend ink initially. So I'm quite comfortable using these blending sponges. But if you are less so, then Lisa's stencil brushes, the white ones, work really nicely with the interference as well. What I would say is that you would want to have one brush per colour for the interference. Just so as you don't get sort of any colour transference between each of the pads. So we can add our colour. That teal is a stunning colour actually. And you can still get quite a nice blend, sort of an airbrush blend. So the centre of these could actually be darker, even with the interference, and it blends out to a paler colour on the outside. So you do still get quite a level of control with these blending sponges. Okay, so let's go down here. There we are. So that looks, actually that works really nicely. Now the reason I chose it this way round is because when we come on to stencil number 3, this adds the detail where the ribbon folds over. So this, if I fold over a piece of ribbon, you can't see it there if I show you on a white piece. So this actually is quite, I'd say it's quite important because it sort of might help you choose your colours. What we're looking at here is a ribbon loop like this, okay? So with the teal and the orange that I've already done here, what you're looking at is the main colour of the ribbon here. Stencil number 3, you're actually looking at the underside of the ribbon, so the shadow bit in here. So you might actually want to go a little bit darker, or you might want to use a paler colour, but it's the contrast, because say stencil 3 is giving you the inside of the loop, and I think sometimes to understand a stencil in that way sort of helps you choose the colours. It does for me anyway, if that's of any help to you at all. And I think what I will do, I will use in this same colour. Now you could pick out the tails of these rosettes in a different colour as well. That's entirely up to you. But yeah, I think sometimes when it helps to understand how a stencil's formed and what part of the image it is that you're looking at, I find anyway. I don't know, sometimes it can be really hard to pick colours and you're not quite sure where you're going. I think if I can offer any extra information, any advice to help you along, then I'll do my very best to do that. But again, I think equally, if you were to choose one colour and choose like pink or blue and do all different shades for all 4 stencils, again, I think that would look stunning as well. So here I'm using the solid gold. It's without spending too much time sort of looking through my inks. I think it will be a good substitute for the mustard gold, but I think you're right, mustard and teal would look amazing. Actually, mustard and teal would probably be two of my favourite colours, to be honest with you. I've just been to a wedding and I wore a black and white dress, well, a white dress with black actually, and I had mustard colour accessories, the mustard shoes and a mustard handbag as well, which when I was chatting with various people, they said, oh, that's a different combination, but I think it worked really nicely without sort of going too pink. I'm not necessarily a pink person, although I do like to stencil with it. But the mustard colour is a stunning colour. So I'm just going through. I'm keeping this quite light, actually. I could go heavier with this gold, but I want to keep it sort of on the lighter shades if I can. So I'm not going quite as heavy as I possibly could. So that just takes a tiny bit more blending for you. So I'm aware of the time. We don't want to be late for Lisa at 3. So there we are. And I think using the gold, actually, it gives a real sort of opulent, a real celebration sort of look, doesn't it? So let's take that away. That looks really, really lovely. I do like those colours together. See, we're a good team. We're a good team. Okay, so stencil number 4 is the one that finished these off. So I could choose any one of these colours again to finish that off. So let me see, what would we go for? Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use the Coral Waters, but what I'm going to try and do is keep it palish, just so as we've got a tiny bit of contrast in colour. I'll see if we can manage that. So I'll do the central bit really dark, and then I'll blend it out to be a lot paler on the outside. Let's see if that will work. So we put a lot of ink into the centre, and I'll go in circular motions towards the outside of those ribbon pieces. So hopefully that should give us a really nice contrast with the other layer of coral that we used. Okay, so we'll keep that quite pale there, quite pale there. And you know, I would never have thought of choosing these colours and putting them together. I would have used, I don't know, I would have used the teals with possibly greens as well. But I really like this. It's really, really unusual. It really, really bold. Might be definitely a colour combination I'm going to remember in the future to put together. Okay, there we are. There we are. That's I didn't know how I thought of my colours in. Okay, there we are. No, it's Hannah Gos. Oh, sorry, Hannah Gosling. Was you the one that mustard and teal? Oh, yes, there you are. Yes, no, it does look a little bit different. To say, I'm sure I could possibly find a more mustardy colour to figure out, but I think these colours actually go really nicely together. It's nice to see that proper colour, and if I can possibly, let's turn you to this camera. There you go. You can see the gold really shining through, and hopefully some of the interference on that coral colour and on the teal colour as well. But that actually is so far removed from Christmas, even though it's in the Christmas launch, that yeah, hopefully it just shows you the diversity of the folder. So I think this is going to be quite a surprise. It's going to be one that's going to carry you through the year, and absolutely ideal for all sorts of celebrations. And if you think about perhaps putting some embellishments in the centre of this, I'm just going to reach up quickly and get a pokey tool. Ooh. Now, if you think about perhaps putting, these are just some of the pearls that Lisa had from ages ago. My pokey tool isn't working. Bear with me, because I think Actually, what we need to do, we need to emboss this. Let me emboss this and I can put the embellishments on with my folder. Okay. That I really, really like. And actually that coral colour, them coral waters, that is so different to any other ink that Lisa has done actually. So I'm glad I had a chance to use that. I would have got around to using all the ink. Well, I will get around to using all the inks eventually, but I just haven't at the moment. Okay, so I've just run that through the embossing folder. Right, apologies, this has sort of turned into a bit of a play session for me, which I actually quite like to do. So that, we've just embossed that now. You can see that's embossed. And again, what that does, it makes them really stand proud. You can see there the difference that creates. And you could really highlight this with, say, a piece of ribbon or a piece of cardstock just to create a banner across. Again, what I'm trying to show you, my pokey tool works. You could even put some pearls in the centre of each of these rosettes just to finish them off. Now, they look great with that colour. We've also got a blue colour as well, and you could possibly alternate the colours. And even, say, with this particular set of pearls, I use them very sparingly. You could even put the tiny ones in between the rosettes as well. So you can see just how that finishes that off. And you can make the card look entirely different depending on the accessories, the colour of the accessories that you put on there as well. Could you turn the stencils upside down? Stencil and use the deboss size? Yes, you absolutely can. And actually, Hannah, what you can do, you can turn the stencils around. And I've done this in other videos actually, and I've done it with the floral, a lot of Lisa's floral ones actually. I'm using the stencils with the number. Oh, let's turn you on this one with the number facing upwards. If you wanted to have a mirror image of this, you could use the reverse of all the stencils, but you would obviously have to make sure that you use the reverse on every stencil through the set. That would work absolutely. And yes, that would give you the deboss of the image as well. That absolutely works. I say I have done that before. Yeah, that works absolutely fine. Saying it gives you a totally different look as well. So that actually is quite a few combinations. And as you can see, as you get playing with these, the more that you use them, you come up with different ideas, different colour combinations. I mean, just look at these two alone, totally different, but using exactly the same products. If you were to use this technique and cut all of these out and put these against a real dark background, that would really pop as well. That would look stunning. If you were to use the deboss, like Hannah was saying, to then colour the background, you'd be able to swipe the ink pad over. So all of the areas in between the rosettes would actually be coloured. So that would save you having to fussy cut them and put them all onto a darker background as well. So that's another way of doing that. So we have our stars, and I remember that everything that I've done and then everything that we've spoken about and say the ideas that you've suggested are so easily transferable to the star design as well, because the only difference sort of being really is that the stars have only got 2 stencils, but you are still getting the same effect. And again, with the stars, you'd be able to use the reverse of the stencils and deboss them as well. So yes, absolutely, you can do that. But hopefully you can see just how versatile these two are. And I think these are definitely going to be runaway successes once people realise how much... Oh, you see that sliding. Sorry, just give them Yes, it gives you an idea of how to use them. So I'm going to love you and leave you. I'll let you get set up for Lisa on Hobby Maker. Enjoy the shows. Thanks for joining me today, and I shall see you again next week. Take care.